Hang on tight, it's happening. The ATF considers the rare breed trigger, the FRT15, a fully automatic firearm. So the United States obtained a temporary restraining order against the rare breed trigger company. They're saying that they're selling fully automatic machine guns due to their trigger's capability of very rapid fire. Now, if you look at the mechanics behind this trigger, it is not a fully automatic firearm. It's a component for a firearm, and the component operates as a semi-automatic. But due to its rapid fire or faster fire capabilities, they have disregarded the definition of a machine gun completely, and they've gone with their own definition, and they've thrown the definition of a machine gun completely out the window, and now they're operating out of their own idea of what justice is and false pretenses in order to take down these companies. Let's look at what automatic trigger looks like.
Okay, so yeah, definitely feel free to read some of this other stuff, but it says any weapon which shoots is designed to shoot or can be readily restored to shoot automatically more than one shot without manual reloading by a single function of the trigger.
And now let's look at what a rare breed trigger looks like.
The FRT-15's hammer, when cocked by the BCG, forces the trigger forward to the reset, along with the shooter's finger. A locking mechanism stops the trigger from being pressed again. The movement of the BCG forces the trigger to reset, but it does not cause the trigger to engage or to perform multiple actions per one trigger pull. Between the hammer and the locking mechanism, the shooter cannot simply hold the trigger all the way back. If they do, it prevents the forced reset and simply fires one round per trigger pull. Even though the FRT-15 is capable of rapid fire, it is still a semi-automatic trigger. And here's the definition of a semi-automatic trigger. Look familiar?
And as you can see, by definition, the rare breed trigger is semi-automatic, and the last time I checked, those are legal. And here's what they're doing ultimately. They're taking a little bit at a time, just a little bit at a time, and they're not instituting justice. They're instituting belief perseverance, for one, and for two, the availability heuristic. Now, both of those states of mind and ways of thinking are solely due to media. Media is going to feed people this stuff, and they're going to take the most extreme situations and morph it to what they want and what they want to believe. And what I mean by that is you can look at the crime reports, some of the best data we have on firearms, mass shootings, who is getting killed by these things, and what types of firearms they're actually using. Are the majority of mass shootings done by AR-15 type rifles, or are they done with AR-15 type short barrel rifles, SBRs? Are they done with rare breed triggers? Are they done with pistols? Are they done with AR-15 type rifles with a brace on the back of the receiver extension? This data is not hard to find. You can even use a platform that is completely biased against these things like Google, and you'll be able to find the truth of the matter. Now let's get into what's happening here. Rare breed triggers has basically been shut down. I think this is their third or fourth time now. So on January 19th, 2023, so just a few days ago, the United States filed a civil complaint this was in federal court against the defendants, rare breed triggers, and the people associated with those triggers. And I believe the accusation is actually mail fraud, because their claim is that they have unlawfully been selling machine gun conversion devices. The devices called FRT15s are specifically designed and intended to be used to convert an AR-15 type rifle into machine guns, and are therefore themselves machine guns under federal law. And they're stating this by invoking the National Firearms Act and the Gun Control Act of 1968. So they're basically saying that rare breed triggers and the people involved with selling and manufacturing the forced reset trigger, or that FRT15, are violating federal law because they're selling machine guns. Now, most of this is coming out of an attorney's office in New York, and so this is kind of what we expected. And at some point, I assumed that they were going to let up on a lot of this because it is a fact that it's not a machine gun by definition. But at this point, I'm convinced that they're never, ever going to let up. And so what can we do about it? I'm not in a position to give anybody any personal advice. I'm merely wanting to report some of these headlines to individuals who knows, maybe you have one and now you're like, oh no, it's a machine gun now, on top of what we were going through with the whole brace thing, where that was legal and then it was not legal, and then it was legal again, and then you had to fill out this form, the $49.99, I believe it was what it was. And then they did away with that, and then they said you can shoulder the brace as long as it's sporadic, and so now that is a final rule has been developed on that as well from the ATF, and they're just kind of changing and morphing the rules as they go along. And so now this other thing has come up. So what do we do? And again, I'm in no position to give you advice, but I can see 3 things that would be suggested by them, again, at this point, the ATF. Just like with the brace, I can imagine they would give you a list of things that you can do. One of them with the brace was you can destroy the firearm. Completely destroy your firearm and everything's all good according to them. The next option is you can turn that in. You can turn it into the ATF and let them know, wave your flags and say, hey, look, I've got one of these things, here you go. You said these were legal, but now they're not, and now you've made a law-abiding citizen a felon. So here you go, ATF. You could do that. There's 2 options I would assume that they would give. The third option is you can also say, hey, ATF, here I am. I would like to register this automatic firearm, this fully automatic machine gun. That's ludicrous. It is absolutely ludicrous. They say it's legal. You get one because they're kind of cool and you want to take it to the range, right? Semi-automatic, it's completely legal, and they're selling millions of these things all over the place. And then they changed the definition, and now you're a felon. Again, I'm not giving any advice, so please don't think that I am. I'm not an expert on any of this stuff. Again, I just wanted to get the headline out there. You tell me. Put it in the comments. What are your thoughts on this? Does this seem legitimate, or does this seem like another trap by the ATF? And I hope all is well with you and that this video helped in some way. Do what's right and stay safe.